Welcome to episode 6 of Musicians in Tune. Did I really just call my own show Musicians in Tune? It's called Intonation. Hello. So that whole intro montage was just me coming home from work. Right now I'm just doing DoorDash, driving everywhere, and it's almost 4 a.m. So I'm just going to go ahead and finish it up. This episode features Chris Dryfoos, local Orlando native musician, singer-songwriter, and a good friend. In this episode, we talk about his origins, how he once wasn't really that interested in music, then his mom told him he should listen to The Doors, playing the bongos as background music for wine tasting, interpersonal band dynamics, and his feelings about Trump. Yes, we get into that. So yeah, I hope you enjoy this episode. It's gonna be a good one. I'm trying to get better at this. Someone help me. Ladies and gentlemen, Chris Dryfoos.
To be all ever knowing, though we change, still not growing. What we feel never showing, only lies ever knowing. In the sea of never feeling, doesn't death seem so appealing? In the citadel of dreaming, unaware of unheard screaming, flashing lights which are beaming through the eyes never gleaming. Through the gold the scent is reeking, only truth is what I am seeking. You are the follower, I am the messenger. They were the conquerors, they know I've come to meet her. All along the wayward skies of the innocence which dies.
All right. Thank you. That was called Follower. That's off of a record called Songs from the Purple Pen.
Nice. Thanks for that, man. The Purple Pen, what's that about?
So back when I first started writing songs, I think it was like 2012 or 2013, one of the books I was working out of, I wrote all of the lyrics and chord changes down in a purple Sharpie marker.
Oh.
Yeah. So that's why it's called Songs from the Purple Pen.
That's cool.
All the songs are in purple.
That reminds me of Michelle Branch did an album called Hotel Paper.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so you can imagine why.
Yeah. Is she, that's the one that's married to Patrick Carney now from the Black Keys, right? Right? Look that up later.
Really?
I think that she is. Unless, maybe I'm mistaken. I don't know.
I've not been keeping up with her at all. But I was really into her Hotel Paper, or was it Broken Bracelet? I can't remember which one it was. It was the one with the French song.
Ah.
I don't know. Anyway, Chris, thanks for showing up, man. Thanks for doing this. We actually were planning to do this at Austin's Coffee again, and It was gloomy, and I, for some reason, never care to check the weather.
Neither did I.
But yeah, we got there, and it was a little bit rainy, and decided to pack it up and just bring it back here at my house. This is my place.
What up?
My roommates are not here, so I think we're good. I don't think they're going to be annoyed, I guess. So tell me about how you started in music, man. Where'd you come from? When did you start? Who started you? All that stuff.
Well, I never wanted to be a musician because my dad was a musician, and I thought musicians never make any money, so why would I do that? And I wasn't really into any particular types of music when I was growing up until I reached like the high school age. And I had my hair basically the same way I have it now. And I was walking through an antique store with my mom, and there was a poster of this guy, Jim Morrison from The Doors, and she said, "You look like Jim Morrison." And I said, "I do, kind of." Huh. And she said to me, "You should listen to some of those Doors records." And I did, and I fell down the Doors rabbit hole. I only listened to them for like 1 year.
Wow.
Just 1 year straight of the Doors. And then I started branching out. The second band I'd listened to from that era after the Doors was Jefferson Airplane. And so they really kind of took hold on me as well. And then I was like, you know what? I should start trying to do my own stuff. So there was a world music drumming class in high school, and I signed up for it, and I took it. And my dad had a drum set down in our basement that he wasn't playing, so I set it up, and I started learning how to play the drums, just self-teaching. And then I thought to myself, being a drummer is fine, but I really should learn how to do, stuff with more like instruments that I guess control like the melody of things. So it's not just like, because I could write the lyrics and stuff just from doing poems, but you can't do poems and drums. That's just kind of like, I mean, I guess you could. So I started taking guitar lessons, and then now we are here at this point.
Wow. So the Doors, the first one, and then straight to Jefferson Airplane. I feel like I can hear that in your music a little bit. You kind of go in that direction.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. I really loved those Doors records. I kind of got sick of just listening to them after a while, so I can't listen to the Doors like every day like I used to. But the Airplane, I mean, I really love the Airplane, and one of the singers in there, his name is Paul Kantner. I just love that type of music. I'm getting more into indie music now, because most of the 60s artists, they're dead, or they're like pushing 80, so I need to have more music coming out on a regular basis and bands to see live. So, but all the new stuff I like just sounds like the old stuff. So,
that makes sense. It's kind of a revival of the older sound.
Yeah, a little bit.
What got you? Why'd you get so into the Doors? Like, you were raised in this era. And what was it about the Doors and that older music that appealed to you so much compared to everything else that was happening that you were listening to maybe at the time?
Well, I just wasn't really listening to anything.
Okay.
I was kind of just like it was just like a big like blank spot. It was like, yeah, I like, this type of stuff casually. But there was just something about like, I guess, the mythology of the Doors and like how a lot of those 60s bands have been kind of, built up, because that was like right in the peak of that classic rock era. So they're really like, oh, so-and-so is like God and blah, blah, blah. Like they would write that on the walls in London when Eric Clapton from Cream came on the scene. They would go, Clapton is God.
Yeah.
And, other than the Doors, though, a lot of the artists I like from that era, I tend to like the ones that are like more obscure. Mm-hmm. So, like Jefferson Airplane, the songs that you're probably familiar with, like Somebody to Love and White Rabbit, really aren't like indicative of what their actual sound was, because they had, at one time, they had 6 lead singers.
Dang.
Okay, not 6, but 5. 5 lead singers
wow.
at one time. Everybody except for the bass player was singing. So, and on a lot of the songs, they're 3 front people all singing in unison. So I was really just kind of drawn to that type of style in particular, and just kind of like, their unusual chord structures, and it really didn't sound like any of the like more homogenized stuff that a lot of people my age were.
So it seemed like there wasn't really necessarily a leader sometimes with that setup, because you have all those lead singers, I guess.
Yeah, no, it was kind of chaos.
Yeah. Wow.
That's why the Airplane's not around today.
I guess
for that, among many other reasons.
Aren't they still around as Starship? Jefferson Starship?
There's Jefferson Starship, which my favorite member of the Airplane, Paul Kantner, he and like two of the other classic Airplane members, they formed Jefferson Starship, and it basically went through a lot of other permeations and became Starship, the one that does like Nothing's Gonna Stop Us Now.
Yeah.
And now there's like a split. So there's one guy doing the Starship stuff, and then there's Jefferson Starship doing like the Airplane and like 70s material.
Oh.
It's very chaotic. We could do a whole podcast on it. We could do like a whole like series of podcasts.
Which one did We Built This City on Rock and Roll?
That was Starship.
That was yeah.
Yeah.
Starship was trying to be more poppy, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I mean, those songs are pretty good. They're just like not written by the band members, so they have like less clout.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So are those like, is Starship still around?
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's just the one guy. It's like the one singer. It's not really like...
He's an original Jefferson Airplane member, though, isn't he?
No.
He's not?
No, he's not. He's not even an original Jefferson Starship member.
Oh.
They brought him on in 79. His name is Mickey Thomas.
Okay.
So really good set of pipes, though. Really good singer.
So the name of the band and the brand of the band is owned by someone else who's not even the originator, I guess.
I don't even know how it works legally. I just know that there's one band that's Starship, and it's the one Mickey Thomas guy, and then there's Jefferson Starship, which is just like a bunch of other guys.
If you were to have a band, what kind of band would you want? Would you want a normal Jefferson Airplane type setup, or you just want anything at this point? What do you want?
Well, ideally, I just want a band. I don't know. That's a really good question, actually, because I'm sure you know that I did have a band that was similar to Jefferson Airplane, at least in my opinion.
Right, Paradise Tree, shout out.
Paradise Tree, originally known as the Sundowners.
The Sundowners,
yeah.
Transferred to Paradise.
Yeah. And don't get me wrong, like I really loved being in the band, and I loved all the guys and gals in the band. But the chaos really was just like, I mean, it was a little bit chaotic, like a lot of great chemistry, but when you have that type of chemistry, it is volatile. So I think right now I'm more interested in just doing my own solo material and maybe just having a backing band where they can just like, kind of just shut up and do what I say in terms of like, I mean, to an extent, because no one's just going to be like, yes, Chris, we are your master, because that would just be weird. But, I'd really just like to have it where I don't have to like, go back and forth on like, what chord change is this? Or like, what are the lyrics for this? It's like, and I want to preface that too by saying none of the guys in Paradise Tree or the Sundowners were like horrible to me. This is kind of like my cumulative experience with other bands where it's like, they can't even decide on a name or like the song titles. And it's like, I wrote the lyrics to this whole song. What? You know what I mean?
Are you saying like if you wrote the lyrics and they had trouble with like titling it or something because you wrote the lyrics?
Yeah, it would be like, I don't want to name any names, but it's like let's say you're a guitar player and you're really good at playing guitar, but you have no real like idea of what you want in terms of like, like the lyrics or like what you want, like the words and like the vocal lines to sound like, but what you don't want it to sound like.
Right.
And so you'll go through like 60 band names or like 3 drafts of lyrics. Meanwhile, you haven't made a penny.
Right.
And it's like, at that point, the perfectionism angle is just driving you up a wall. And it's like, I don't really need to be,
right.
I don't need to be like waiting around because I know how to play and I can sing.
Yeah.
And I can play the drums and the bass and I can screw around on the piano a little bit. So, I mean, that's really all you need.
What do you think is going to, for anyone who's listening right now who wants to have a band or has a band, what do you think is something that a band needs, like one of the top things they need to make sure that everything is as cohesive, like with just one thing? Like
I would just say like clearly defined boundaries. Kind of like any relationship. If you go in, I mean, there is a certain amount of play, like in all relationships. But if you want like a band to function properly, you need to just be upfront about like what you're looking for and really like what you want to get out of it. Because otherwise you could be in a situation where it's like, let's say you want to go on a tour, right? And 3 of the guys are like, well, I have a family, you know, or like I have a girlfriend or I have a full-time job. Like, I don't want to go out and live in a van for 5 months. Well, then you either have to find a replacement member on the last spot, last minute, or like your band is like kind of toast. And then the other thing I would say is very important is to not be a big fat jerk.
You just had to slide that second one in there. That's a real big deal.
Yeah, I mean, just have clearly, you don't have to have like totally clearly defined boundaries because you're not going to know what you want all the time. And everything is like very fluid in life. It contains multitudes. But if you can at least treat people with like basic respect and not be like a tool, and again, none of the guys in Paradise Tree or the Sundowners were ever like big fat jerks to me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was just kind of like, how would I put it? You just on a regular basis, just don't be a tool.
Got it.
You know,
That makes sense. Have you ever been a tool to your bandmates?
I get like a little bit like in a snit, but I don't think I've ever done anything that's like, you know, like you suck at playing this instrument. Like I hate you. You're like a worthless person.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I've ever done that in recent memory. I mean, I'm sure I did it when I was like a kid, you know, to like people I didn't like, but I think everybody does that.
Yeah.
So
That's.
I feel like I'm on like the Dr. Phil show. So I'm sorry if the people are remembering things a little bit differently, but
hey, you know,
that's a whole thing too.
Hey, you never know, man. I'm going to call him up after this.
I hope I haven't been a tool to you.
No,
We've played a little bit together.
I don't know, man. I got some memories.
PTSD.
No, not really. No, you've been great. I wanted to ask you about the song you just played.
Yes.
I think I was trying to grasp onto it. A lot of imagery was happening there.
Yeah.
One line that stood out to me was, I can't remember it exactly anymore now, about the gold and the stench reeking through the gold or something.
Yeah.
So maybe you give a synopsis of what exactly the heck are you talking about? Yeah.
I don't know what I'm talking about. That one just, a lot of the songs just write themselves. You know, through the gold, the scent is reeking. I think that's the line you're referring to. That's probably just something where it's like, you know, things that look really good on the outside might not be actually good on the inside. Kind of like how, you know, people will say, and this is just an example, you know, you'll see someone in a big house and you'd think that, oh, they have it made, but then they're actually like in debt.
Of course.
You know, or they're like living above their means. So it's really just a matter of like perception versus what's actually going on.
Yeah. Do you have any fail-safes in your mind in place when it comes to gaining wealth to keep you from that scent reeking out of your wealth?
Oh, yeah. I think the biggest thing is just using what wealth you have to help other people. That's a big thing. You know, that's something I've been a little more cognizant, you know, as time has gone on, just doing what I can. I'm not like a big, like, anybody, but just doing what I can to try and help other people. Yeah. And just not spending your money foolishly. Like, do you really need like a new Lamborghini if you can afford it? Like, there's probably better uses for your money.
I don't know, man. I feel like I might need one.
I mean, if you need one, I mean, you can go out and get it. Just make sure you don't have to sell your kidney to afford it.
I want at least a nice car.
Yeah.
But I have a nice car.
Yeah, I like your car.
Yeah, it needs some work.
Yeah. All cars need work.
Yeah, this one needs serious work.
That's why I like the guitars. Like I'm perfectly content driving around my minivan for the rest of my life because cars tend to depreciate in value from my understanding.
Yeah.
Like as soon as you drive it off the lot, but
Unless it becomes like a collector's item of some sort.
Yeah, that's true.
But not a minivan.
No, certainly not a minivan.
Are there any do you know of any minivans that have grown in value?
I don't know. I hope not. But with the guitars, if you get a nice like a American like Strat or something, it'll at least hold its value if you don't like totally break it. At least that's from my limited knowledge of the guitar industry.
Of course. All right. Well, I'm feeling like we'd like another song. How's that sound?
All right. I also want to say, this is just a little PSA, that Follower and this next song I'm about to play are both from the songs from the Purple Pen record. And that's actually, that actually came out a while ago, but there's a new version that's coming out. It might even be out by the time this podcast goes up. It's going to be out probably late January of 2021. And I'm very, very proud of like how it turned out. Like it sounds like 100 times better than the old version.
So you redid the original?
I redid the whole original. Wow. And I got my friend John Miles to play on a couple of tunes too.
Wow, exciting.
Yes.
Can't wait.
Yeah. So this is a song, it's called Alaskan Blues. It's a real joyous one. So everyone get ready to clap. Never been a song for a place so cold, where ground was scarred as men searched for gold. Never been a place where people go into the night, way down below. Never was a time when you could turn back, as oil rises up like a shadow black. Never in this world was a place so bleak, where man was dead and the strong were weak. In the morning comes the sun, the gray begins and the dark is done. The cold merges it into one. It comes in a frozen shell, encasing all in a living hell. And you take a shot at the geese that fly into the ever-darkening sky. And in the shadows your mind rots, ensnared in corrupt living plots. The body's frozen, the soul is caught. The gray makes it seem all for naught. In the morning comes the sun, the gray begins and the dark is done. The cold merges it into one. Thank you.
Yeah.
That was the first time I played it live.
Okay.
So.
Wow. Well, we got a sneak peek of that. That's awesome.
That's right. That's the live debut right there.
Man, I can't wait to sell this footage.
That's right. There you go.
It's awesome. What was that another song that was kind of like a free flow kind of? Do you like the last song where it kind of wrote itself? Did this one kind of write itself too?
Yeah, I don't really have like a lot of strong memories when it comes to writing the tunes.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there's quite a bit in the Chris Dryfoos vault, so they kind of sometimes they overlap, but sometimes there's a memory that might stick out.
How many songs did you write before you finally was like, oh, this is a good one?
I don't know.
Did you kind of like all of them, really?
No, there were some that were really, really garbage.
Yeah.
Let me think. Are there any ones that are really bad that stand out to me?
Well, your first one, was your first one kind of bad, or?
No, my first one was a song. It's called "Like a Rocket," and I still play that one.
Okay.
But that was the first one I wrote on the guitar.
Okay.
The first song I think I ever wrote was just like a bongo piece,
Oh.
and it was just kind of like and I would just title like the drum beat.
Oh.
So
Okay.
I actually did a couple of concerts just as a bongo player.
Really?
Yeah, and sometimes I would do.
Wait, hold on.
Yeah.
I'm trying to imagine this. How old were you first?
Probably like 16.
And you did a concert?
I did multiple concerts.
You did multiple concerts where you set up the show for people to come see you play the bongos.
I mean, I didn't like book it like through like Austin's Coffee or something, but like people would come up to me. One of the gigs I got through the Boy Scouts, they were like, "Hey, we need some background music for a wine tasting." So
For a wine tasting?
For a wine tasting.
And you were like, I can play the bongos?
Yeah, so the first year I played the bongos, and then the second year I ended up playing guitar and singing.
Dude, what did they say about the bongos background music for the wine tasting?
I don't know. I just hope they tasted a lot of wine that day. So,
Dude.
yeah. Another time,
bongos
yeah.
for background music?
Bongos for background music.
I'm just trying to. It's just like two little bongos that you have.
It was just one bongo.
Just one bongo.
It was like kind of like shaped like it was like this size, like the little trophy.
What?
Yeah. I have whole albums where it's just bongo music.
Hold on, I'm trying to imagine the dude asking you, and you were like, "I play bongos," and he was like, "Sure."
Yeah.
So he's.
I don't really know how it happened.
Dude, I'm kind of flabbergasted. I'm just trying to imagine. Okay, we need some wine. We need some background music for a wine tasting. It's like a professional black tie affair of some sort?
It wasn't black tie, but like people, I mean, they were wearing like belts.
They were wearing belts.
They were wearing the belts.
Wearing belts and nice lady outfits.
Yeah.
And where was this?
In Pennsylvania.
At was it a nice venue or?
It was at a vintage car museum.
A vintage car museum.
They had a little cafe up there.
And the guy who hired you was like the coordinator of the event?
No, he was yes, he was, but he was also one of the scoutmasters. And then the next year, when I played the guitar, they were actually going to pay me $100.
Ooh.
And they did pay me $100, but they were under the pretense that I was going to be playing the bongos again. So I could have made $100 as just a bongo player.
What? So when you brought the guitar, they were like, no.
No, they didn't say that. They were just like, you're going to play the guitar and sing? And I was like, yeah. And they went, oh, okay. But I did like weird stuff at that gig. I did a song called Cortez the Killer by Neil Young. I did a song called The Iceman Cometh that I wrote, which is on my first record, which is a song about a Yeti attack. I did a song called Your Mind Has Left Your Body by some of the guys in Jefferson Airplane, although it's not technically on an Airplane record, but that's a whole tangent. So I don't know why they were paying me.
Well, I mean, the guitar thing makes sense, but I'm just like, I can't get over the bongo thing. And they were like, yeah, play bongos again next year.
Yeah.
You must have been really good.
I mean, it ain't that hard to play the bongos. That's what
I mean, it's not, I feel like it's hard to make it sound like background music worthy.
Oh, it certainly wasn't background music. I didn't play it as background music. I played it as foreground music.
Oh, so they
Well, and the funny thing too was that the bongo I was playing, it sounded like a basketball. because it was one of those. It had like instead of like kind of like a skin head, it was like a rubber head.
Oh.
So it sounded like you were dribbling a basketball up and down the court a little bit.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so they were okay with you playing in the foreground the whole time.
In the foreground the whole time, yeah.
Wow, that's amazing.
The funniest part was I would try and play songs that, you know, the drum beats to actual songs, and I would say, okay, you guys might recognize this song, but of course they're not going to recognize it because I'm just playing the drum beat on the bongos.
Bum 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 bum. That one. They know that one.
Yeah, but I wasn't playing that stuff. I was playing like, you know, Doors songs that were like non-singles, like album cuts.
Were you just doing the 2 and 4? Do.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I wanted to ask you about the recent stuff you've been writing and the recent album you put out. Strong political vibes.
Oh, yes. Very strong.
Super, like, at least one song was super anti-Trump for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tell me, what inspired you to be like, I should write about like this? Was it just, do you feel like a lot of turmoil from that whole presidency and you were just like, dude, I have to sing about this. I can't.
Yeah. That was basically the vibe I was going for. Like, I mean, I don't know. Like, it's just really like unfathomable that whole event occurred.
The 4 years?
Yeah. Like, it's just like,
I'll be honest. When I found out he got elected, I was like, really? He won? I was like, the whole time he was, you know, went up for it. I mean, it does show you though how like amazing of a winner he can be. You know, despite, you know, his personality. And I think that he used his personality to his advantage in his way. Like,
I think so too.
I saw that the personality part in a really bad way. I was like, how could he win with that kind of personality? But a lot of people vibed with that because he was so anti everyone else, you know?
Yeah, and I think we've really seen that. I mean, with like a lot of people, it's like they drunk this Kool-Aid. You know, it's like, and you know, it's a hard line to walk because you have family members and friends and like loved ones who have voted for Trump. Mm-hmm. So it's like, how do you like wrestle with this thing where it's like, I love you, but also you voted for someone who is like, in my opinion, like only like a couple of degrees away from like Adolf Hitler. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Especially with like January, like the riots, like that whole thing, like that is the thing that happened. And it's just like, how? Why? Stop. So I really did feel kind of hesitant to actually speak out a little bit more just because I was afraid of what people might say. But then, you know, towards the end of the presidency, and certainly as we saw literally in the last week of his presidency, there's always stuff that was happening. So it was just like, it just had to stop. Like, and I had to say something. And I feel like, especially in 2020, like there was a real fever pitch, especially with the pandemic and, you know, the unfortunate like killings of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor, and the, you know, the good that kind of came out of that with the protesting. So I was just like, you know what, I gotta say my thing here. So, and I don't care if people don't agree with it or not. That's your opinion. Yeah. Please don't kill me. And you know what? That's really all I can ask for. We're moving forward in I think a better direction, especially from the press secretary standpoint. Uh-huh. Very refreshing to see normalcy again. Yeah. So,
what kind of backlash have you received, do you think, from writing that stuff? Any?
I don't think of anything really major, fortunately. Mm-hmm. I think I took at least my immediate circle, I don't know how to describe it. Nobody really came out of the woodwork, though, and was like, you suck. Mm. So maybe they will eventually, but I think it's kind of...
You need to do more advertising.
Maybe I will. I mean, it'd be kind of a moot point now, but I mean...
You haven't angered anyone yet. You are not advertising enough.
That's probably... I mean, honestly, that's probably true. I think anger would have probably been a pretty decent tactic to get more engagement. But
Get a thriving comment section or something somewhere on your videos or something.
Yeah, like a hate thing.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I'm sure that the songs aren't really going to totally lose their relevance, because I'm sure in a couple of years, there'll be another loony bin in there. Hopefully not quite as loony. Like, I hope we don't get another Trump. But you never know. Like, his kids are still out there. Maybe they'll run.
I wouldn't put it past them.
Honestly, like, I wouldn't either. They seem a little bit like, just like a little bit like, like egocentric. So, and I think that's really why Trump ran anyway, to feed that ego.
Yeah, that's very possible.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, definitely has an ego for sure.
Yeah.
I think so.
I think people underestimated the power of that ego.
Yeah.
Now we're at this point where people aren't believing in basic safety protocols, like wearing a mask becomes like a political thing, and like there's the coronavirus isn't real, and it's like, guys, stop. So
what would you say to someone who is what would be one piece of advice you'd give to a Trump supporter to hopefully make them reconsider?
I think it depends on the Trump supporter, if we're being honest. I am not really inclined to provoke. I don't really like conflict, so I'm not really inclined to try and change somebody's mind if they're just going to come back and scream in my face like, you're wrong. But if it's someone who is a little bit more malleable, I would just kind of present them with the facts, where it's, the way that the man operated is not normal, and there was a constant distortion of the truth, and just like basic facts to basically feed his own ego and like make himself feel, I guess, better about himself. I don't know. That was just my impression of him, and I think it was very dangerous. And yeah, but I think in terms of like a more radical supporter, I think what we really need is more like leadership to stand up and just stop Trump. If there was a more unilateral response from maybe the Republicans that kind of just went along with him, I think that would do a lot of good in reversing those opinions, if it was even possible. Because they're not going to listen to like a liberal, you're a diehard liberal,
right?
At least that's my perception. I don't speak the truth. Well, I do speak the truth.
I think
my opinion.
I think Republicans who are against Trump, who would say that they're not for Trump, they're often called rhinos.
Yeah.
So Republicans in name only. So I don't know if that name would be emblazoned on them, and then no one would listen to them. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Well, I think it would take a lot of. I think it would have to be like a really like they'd all have to do it, or like 90% of them, because you're always going to have. Unfortunately, I think you're always going to have those people who now are like Trump, like mini Trumps, like yeah.
What would you say is? I'm just going to keep on the subject of Trump. Why not?
Yeah, go for it.
What do you think is the worst thing he's done in his presidency? The biggest thing, the worst thing, and then I'm going to ask you another question after that.
You're going to probably ask me what the best thing was.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't like. I don't know. There was just so much. There was just so much that was bad. I think
nothing that was the worst necessarily. It was just all like.
I think the worst thing was just his constant lying. I think if there was a point, and I wish that he had done this. I really wish that he had come in and, okay, maybe that kind of bully lying thing had just been more of an act. And once he had assumed the presidency, he at least became more like normal. Like if he had been like a George Bush or something, it would have been bad, but it wouldn't have been like the world is on fire bad. But I think really the lying and the divisive rhetoric, in my opinion, was really that's the root of all the other problems. Because I don't know if you've read Donald Trump's Wikipedia page.
No.
He was actually a Democrat at one point in the 90s.
I thought that. I'm pretty sure I thought that at one point.
So it's just like, it's suspicious for me to think that he was really not acting out of any political thing and more of using that Republican ticket and those kind of core values to funnel his own bigotry and then using the lies to back it up.
Do you think it was probably because, could be wrong about this, I don't know, but do you think that might have helped him for a re-election? Because if he let up that personality, then maybe people wouldn't vote for him again, because that personality is what got him there, I guess.
I don't even think it's a personality, quite frankly. I think that, I was hoping it was some sort of personality. I think that's just how he is. So I don't think he would have let up even if he knew it was an act.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
So, speaking of which, is the last song going to be about Trump?
The last song will not be directly about Trump, but it's more about the idea of that truth versus lies.
Okay. Interesting. Oh, and I forgot to ask you, best thing he did during his presidency.
Best thing he did, I think the best thing he did was not change his haircut so we could keep making fun of it. I think that's, I'm sure that there was something decent that he did somewhere. I just can't think of it right now, unfortunately. I know that's the most liberal thing to say.
Yeah.
But, I don't know.
Do you ever hear anything about coming from the Republican side or conservatives posting stuff on social media about the good things he's done or anything like that? Have you ever heard of that stuff?
I'm sure that that's happened. I just don't know how much of it would be, good, because good is kind of relative.
I guess so.
Like something that would be good for a Trump supporter might not necessarily be good for me. So they could say good things Trump has done, and it could be like, oh, he got us out of the Paris Climate Agreement. And it's like, that's from my standpoint, that's not good. That's bad. So, yeah.
I
think he gave comfort to the Trump supporters.
Well, that's not necessarily good, but
It's not good for me. It's good for them.
I think he did fight for $2,000 for everyone. I think he tried to fight for that.
You know what? Yeah. See, I knew there was something. So thank you. But we didn't get that.
I think he did. He put a lot of things into law to help black communities too, as well, from what I heard. And there was like a bunch of meetings where black people came in. Big black heads of companies came in to congratulate him for the things he's done for the black community during his presidency. Have you seen that stuff?
I haven't seen that stuff. I'd like to fact check it too, just so I know. That
Well, they could have photoshopped those black people.
I don't know if they I don't think that they did, but I think that is something to,
consider.
I mean, I think it's something to consider, but I also think you have to consider the overwhelming, like, sure, you might have done one good thing here, but if you do one good thing versus 100 bad things.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Right.
We'll I think history will decide. I don't know if it's necessarily for us to decide.
Yeah.
But I think it's important too to have like discussions like that, because I wouldn't have known, about that.
Right. Of course.
So
Cool. Okay. Well, I would love to hear your last song, man, and then we'll close it out. How's that sound?
that sounds really good.
This has been a really good conversation.
Yeah, I'm glad that we weren't at each other's throats. I didn't think that we would be. Of course. Yeah, always good. Sing again. Sing play. I play sing. Anyway, this is called Dawn of Freedom.
say you're not ready to face the light. You'd rather stay in bed. But sooner or later, and you know that I'm right, you gotta face what lies ahead. The dawn of freedom's coming on, from darkness into morn. The dawn of freedom's coming on, so lay down your hate and your scorn. The dawn of freedom's coming on, with the rising of the sun. And everybody's running on, no cage for anyone, no. You say that you're tired, unable to keep your focus in the day. Well, don't you be crying, no, don't you weep. Your fears will melt away. The dawn of freedom's coming on, from darkness into morn. The dawn of freedom's coming on, so lay down your hate and your scorn. The dawn of freedom's coming on, with the rising of the sun. And everybody's running on, no cage for anyone, no. And though you are suffering, living in pain, or down in poverty, soon you'll be living, strength you will gain, and you'll lose all your misery. The dawn of freedom's coming on, y'all, from darkness into morn. The dawn of freedom's coming on, y'all, so lay down your hate and your scorn. The dawn of freedom's coming on, with the rising of the sun. And everybody's running on, no cage for anyone, no, 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 no.
Chris Dryfoos, everyone. Thank you again. I really like that one.
Thank you.
That was got some good picking.
Yeah, thank you. That's my bluegrass style.
All right. Thank you. That's it.
Awesome. Tune in next time.